Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Ultimate General Civil War and the Battle of Chickamauga, which is the newest addition to the Ultimate General Civil War game. Chickamauga was the last of the great Confederate victories in the Civil War. It was not the last victory, per se, as many of you have called out. Well aware of that. The Battle of Cold Harbor, for example, was a decisive Confederate victory, although Chickamauga was the last victory which had the potential to change the strategic situation in a region. It was the last victory that allowed the Confederacy the opportunity of having the initiative in a campaign. And it was also perhaps the most squandered victory in Confederate military history. What I mean by that is the Battle of Second Manassas, the Confederates won, drove the Union back, and had the opportunity to launch the invasion of the North in Antietam. The Battle of Chancellorsville likewise allowed the Confederacy to take the offensive into the heart of the Union. The Battle of Chickamauga allowed the Confederates to counterattack, threaten the former Confederate city of Chattanooga, and threaten to break the Union's center in Tennessee. It may have been too late by this point in the war for the Confederacy to actually win the war. It's certainly possible, although I would argue, diplomatically speaking, if the Confederacy had followed up this victory with retaking Chattanooga, breaking the the Union in the North, it may have kept Grant west longer, which may have prevented any decisive victories in the East and could have also delayed the Atlanta campaign. It's hard to know, but I think it's safe to say this was the last time that a Confederate battlefield victory allowed the Confederates to take the initiative, and it was squandered dramatically. In our last video, we talked about how the Confederacy won the Battle of Chickamauga, driving the Union from the field, breaking the Union's center and left, hemming the Union right in on a series of defensive positions held by George Thomas, who would become known as the Rock of Chickamauga. The Confederacy then obliged Thomas to withdraw and pursued the Union toward Chattanooga, Tennessee. However, the Confederacy failed to follow up aggressively. Bragg seemed lackadaisical in a golden opportunity, and he failed to take it. He ended up putting troops along Missionary Ridge, which was just opposite of Chattanooga, besieging the city itself, threatening to cut off supplies. The Union had just a narrow road which they could bring supplies along. They were rapidly consuming stores more quickly than they were bringing in, and the Confederates set up a strong position at Lookout Mountain. They took a strong position along Missionary Ridge, and all of these locations were just opposite of Chattanooga. They all threatened the former Confederate city of Chattanooga, now occupied by the Union, and that was that. Now, this video is not going to dive too much into the Battle of Chattanooga, other than to say a failure to aggressively follow the Union disaster up and attack aggressively led to the Union to be able to rally their forces, dig their forces in, and begin to recuperate. The failure to rapidly follow this up meant that the Union brought reinforcements in. They moved more than 20,000 reinforcements by rail from the Eastern Theater. Joe Hooker, who was then unemployed, took 20,000 forces from the Union Army of the Potomac. I believe there were elements of the Union 11th Corps under Howard, but I could be wrong there. Howard did end up in the Western Theater at some point. And they were able to reinforce their troops. Some reinforcements ended up coming up from Grant as well, so that by the time the Battle of Chattanooga was fought, the Confederates were outnumbered. The Confederates made their position worse by detaching James Longstreet and a force of more than 10,000 men to deal with the city of Knoxville in eastern Tennessee, and that also was perhaps a foolhardy move. They were outnumbered, and yet they were besieging the Union, and then they sent this massive force, this substantial force the size of a Confederate corps, east to deal with a city that was not really strategically located, wasn't very pro-Confederate in the first place, and was heavily dug in by Union forces that exceeded the strength of their attackers. This was an example, one of the rare examples in the war where splitting one's forces led to a decisive defeat. Typically the mantra is in warfare, you never split your armies in the face of a superior enemy. Well, Lee did it before Antietam. He nearly was destroyed, but he was able to hang on. However, Braxton Bragg, by splitting his forces, only ensured his own eventual defeat. It was perhaps done because the generals in Bragg's army did not like him one bit. They despised him. In fact, Jefferson Davis came out west to try and figure out what was going on. He replaced D.H. Hill, who Bragg was not a fan of and who was not a fan of Bragg. He asked James Longstreet if he'd be interested in taking command of the army in the west. Longstreet demurred and wanted nothing to do with it, although he did publicly criticize Bragg. And all of Bragg's corps commanders were more or less publicly outspoken against him. And so you had this dysfunctional command in the West trying to besiege a unified Union command under General Ulysses S. Grant, with Sherman bringing his forces up, 20,000 men under Hooker coming up, and then also the Army of the Tennessee, now under the command of General Thomas, who Rosecrans was relieved of his command, and it was given to Thomas instead. It's an interesting battle and one I highly recommend you looking up, but for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to jump back into the live stream, which you are currently watching. So you can see here I'm in the process of launching an attack here on the center and south of the Union line, overwhelming their center, hopefully driving them back, and then I can turn north and deal with those forces that pushed me back out of my own positions in the north and maybe destroy them. We don't have a ton of time to do all of this, but we will make an effort. You can see the forces on the map look like they're about even, a slight advantage to the Confederates, as was the case at Chickamauga, where the Confederates outnumbered the Union. But by the time, again, of Chattanooga, the Confederates were heavily outnumbered, maintaining a very long line across Missionary Ridge with insufficient forces. They had something like 5 yards between every single soldier. And remember, this is an age of linear combat where you need to have, a concentration of fire. They put too much value in the position that they held and not enough realization in the weakness of their own forces. They were also caught off guard. They didn't expect the Union to attack as aggressively as they did. And, the Union initial attacks were frustrated by Patrick Cleburne, but eventually they were able to drive the Confederates back. Again, this isn't so much of the Battle of Chattanooga as it is just a conclusion of the Battle of Chickamauga. So with all that being said, and with me rambling now for 7.5 minutes, I'm going to jump back into the live stream audio. I'll meet you guys back up at the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you there. I'm trying to sweep north, but I'm not doing a smooth job of it. All right. You can see here we've kind of stopped trying to push in the north, and we've just kind of refused our positions. They've stopped attacking us, mainly because they took the position. Oh, run. Alright. Advancing these guys to clear this battery, and then maybe we'll drive on the objective. Whoa, I didn't realize the objective was right there. Isolate and destroy! Some cavalry. Maybe this objective's lightly taken, lightly held, and we can counterattack. We'll see. Surprised they don't show Longstreet in this at all. Seems a little bit ahistorical. Counterattack, retake the position. Drive them back. So where are we at objective-wise? Looks like a mess. Looks like a mess. How many guns in our rear? We did break the Union Army in two. So I can send these guys down toward the southern objective. Splitting my advance may not be wise, but... got a shit ton of troops down here. I'm basically not using my artillery, which I know is very smart. Oh, wait. How about all our guns focus on this one battery of enemy artillery? Okay, so we did retake the position. Move our cavalry up north. Some of our infantry. Okay. So we do have the position turned. There are Federals in our rear, but we're actually in the rear of their defensive positions. Looks like they do have breastworks set up along here. I don't think we're going to win, but I think if this battle was any longer, we'd be in much better shape. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time. Granted, there may be one day left. Oops. Break the Federals! Robert Trigg is dead! He's probably triggered, too. Attack or wait? Okay. The last brigades of Longstreet's corps are expected to arrive very late in the night, therefore maybe we could conserve and secure our right flank and attack only when our army is full strength. I mean, we've already broken the Federal... Not broken, but we've already managed to... seriously hinder the Federal line in the south. Basically tear it in two. So I don't know why we wouldn't attack. Have they pulled out? Did they abandon these defensive works? No. No, they didn't. Okay. So everybody's pretty much out of ammo at this point. Where are my supply wagons, by the way? I had a few. Should have kept those moving forward with the advance. These guys are in pretty good defensive terrain there. They're shooting at the skirmishers, which I'm more than happy about. So our southern objective has been taken. And now we can trap this Union brigade here. And we've driven them completely out of the southern fields. So we're actually almost to a draw. At least one, almost to a victory too. We haven't inflicted 10% more on them. They've probably inflicted more on us, but historically that was actually the case. Minus, you take out of account surrendered, the Confederates actually lost worse than the Union in this battle. Where's Kelly Field? Okay, so we snuck in behind them and took that objective, but then they retook it with some cavalry. That's fine. Okay, fly wagon. Alright. That's all they had in the south? Really? I thought I was going to be moving against some sizable forces, but I guess not. Well, we'll just go and have them defend. So the southern flank is completely broken. Looks like they did capture some of my supplies. Oh shit. Any cavalry down there? No. Break off some skirmishers. Gotta go retake our supplies now. That's a kind of stupid, like, oh, leaking forces behind your lines, and you've got to, oh shit. Can these guys even charge? Oh yeah, they can. So you're gonna charge. These guys are basically caught. Move up some artillery. I want to move it to the Union flank. Ideally, we can get these guns behind their lines. I just don't have sufficient forces to push Thomas. But I think we'll leave one brigade down here and then move the rest north. Yeah, I agree. The game kind of misses on the whole prisoner aspect of the war. Units do surrender, or they should. Ridge is going wide with a flanking maneuver. We're kind of driving north. on Thomas's rear. It's the objective anyway. Some of these supplies actually should be north. There you go. Turning the Federals out of their positions. Like a boss. Go get them guns. Nice, nice. Tell your boys they've done splendidly, sir. Fire into them guns. Woo-wee! Alright. Casualty-wise, we've now inflicted 10% more on the enemy than they on us. Huzzah! Flanking the enemy does that. Skirmishers off. Send you guys back. We'll need to keep, I think, a brigade just in case there's enemy troops in our rear. Meanwhile, I think we're gonna send these guys all north as well. We'll leave Sharp back on the southern objective. I don't want to lose anything by surprise. No, the supplies are being ridden down. Oh no. Break those skirmishers off. Skirmishers, you go for the supplies. Fucking cavalry. Oh, come on, you guys. Move. Damn, those supplies are gone for sure. Okay. Guys are in woods so deep that they're like cut off and surrounded and they're still fighting. Alright, let's try and take those federal supplies. So we've turned the Federals out of their positions, broken their line, cut their southern forces more or less off. They hold two positions. They can probably escape out these northern roads, which is why I wouldn't say it's decisive yet. Oh my god. Where are these guys coming from? Wait, I've got some horsemen around. Don't I? Alright, these guys are moving north ever so slowly. Who are these guys? These guys are in an interminable chase. The enemy is moving infantry behind our lines through these woods. Alright, you're gonna take these supplies back, right? Yeah, this battle is like the definition of miscommunication deciding a battle, in that, you know, the Confederates largely won because of miscommunication on the Union side, which allowed the Union to open up a gap in their lines that should never have existed, and ended up resulting in the Confederates winning the battle by breaking the sort of center and south of the Federal line, largely, again, due to miscommunication. Alright, some Federal troops running away. Good with that. Coming out of these woods, charge them. Rebel yell that supply wagon. Don't you dare run into a volley. They're like, please, no, not them. We'll surrender to you. Oh, it's empty. Lame. So these guys in these woods are frustrating. They would chase those supplies off the map. Alright. So we are resupplying some of our infantry. Thomas appears to be getting antsy again. I mean, Thomas could saddle south and break our line because we shifted so much north. Wouldn't be that crazy. We're going to move some more of those troops into that position. Still, a little bit more in the way of reinforcements would be nice. Ah. It said that, yeah. I'm not sure if the final day is actually tomorrow and this is just the first day of the battle, because historically the Confederates attacked much to no purpose, and then the actual breakthrough occurred. I want to say, was it on the 20th? It was on the second day of the battle. Longstreet himself personally arrived late in the night. I'm just not sure It says September 19th, so I'm not sure what day in the fight we're at. This is technically, I think, day 2 of the battle, so I'm a little bit uncertain on that, or uncertain on who... Just charge these. There's like 200 of them. You outnumber more than 5 to 1. There you go. Just overwhelmed. That literally, that federal unit ceases to exist. Of course, our line here in the center, like, the idea is you could hammer and anvil the Confederates out of existence, but the problem is our line here doesn't really exist in the first place. Alright, let's move some supplies down here. Now that, it seems like Thomas is advancing away from the pressure that we're bringing to his rear, so he's almost attacking into the pressure. These guys are still coming up. They're taking forever in this terrain. So yeah, holding our line here where Forrest is going to be incredibly difficult if the Union are going to start trying to get aggressive. The nice thing is by coming in the rear, we really did ravage the Federal artillery. We took some pretty big licks in doing so. You can see those guns are getting hit hard. Of course, these troops up here to us are getting hit pretty hard too. My artillery has basically been worthless in this battle. But I think I can put it to some good use if I can get them into these woods up here, actually. I didn't think we lost that many supply wagons captured. So I don't remember when we would have. We're going to try and flank these guys. If these two brigades here can keep the enemy facing forward, then we can bring troops right in their rear. Of course, some of my troops are very low on ammo as well. Ecor has lost 80% of his unit almost. Long's cavalry is getting just shredded at the moment. And he's dead. At least his unit is more or less ceases to exist. So that worked out pretty well. Federals finally realize they're surrounded rather than just sitting there the whole day. What are you doing? Now the Federals are in our rear over here. Oh my goodness, this is a mess. Okay. The ladder should automatically go up. The what? What's this voodoo magic you're talking about? Alright. The one thing I think the game should do a better job of is, just because you don't hold necessarily this magical hill, there should be, like, I don't feel like there's really victory points for casualties inflicted, and if we destroy their entire army, or like 80% of their army, but we fail to take these northern positions, we've already taken their rear. So, you know, you should be able to win without necessarily taking the, you know, points on the battlefield that were relevant because of what happened historically, not necessarily because of what's happening in your game. That's something that a lot of war games struggle with. Interestingly enough, the 1997 Sierra game, Civil War Generals 2, had, you know, I think did a good job of that, in that there were starting objective points, but the actual objective points that became really valuable were the ones that were determined based on how the fighting was unfolding. And in that case, you ended up having, you know, you largely controlling what was important on the battlefield based on where the fighting was occurring. So that felt much more authentic than maybe the way this game or most war games treat it. Okay. Woohoo! We retook the woods. Or the road. Or the whatever. Alright, now get up there and give some boys some bullets. Keep on pressing them. Crittenden's pretty well packed in here. I don't quite have them enveloped so convincingly as I did earlier. How many things do we have? Jeez. That's a lot more men than I think we need around this objective. Move these north. Three good-sized brigades. We'll keep a few back, because again, the enemy does have some, it seems like they've got some leakers that could cause some issues. The northern objective still seems relatively strong. Ashby's forces have done stellar for cavalry, the way they've those casualties they've inflicted. Ooh, our left just got smashed by some Federal artillery. Okay, so Jay's Mill and Horseshoe Ridge. Where's Horseshoe Ridge? Defeat? No! 22,000 casualties for us, 26,000 for the Federals. That's really stupid. The fact that we completely went behind their lines and crushed them for all intents and purposes and still lose the battle because we don't hold that one mandatory objective on the north, that doesn't reflect the way the battle was unfolding. Alright, well there you have it, guys. Obviously, unfortunately, I was defeated in the Battle of Chickamauga, so no attempt to fight the Battle of Chattanooga. Well, that's not in the game, but no sort of hypothetical attack on Chattanooga as a result of our defeat, and, you know, it's another one of those games where, you know, you've got the magical hill, the magical victory point that you must hold for all reasons, even though we held the entire Union rear, the entire Union left, the entire Union south, had them more or less surrounded with no escape route, and yet we lose the battle. It is what it is, though. It's only a game. I enjoyed the stream and the playthrough. I hope you guys did it as well. I know this was a bit longer, but I didn't think it made sense to cut this one in half. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out. Oh, one last thing. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and return to my campaign series in the next Ultimate General video, so we'll return back. We're in the Battle of Shiloh fighting as the Union, so we will return to that series here very shortly in the coming days. But hope you guys enjoyed this little brief look at Chickamauga, and again, until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.